Hello and welcome to the March Networking for Introverts call. I'm Sabrina Schottenhamel, and today we have a small group, just me and Victoria. It's the way it's supposed to be, though.
Just us,
And
exactly.
yeah, so thanks for being here with me today.
Yeah.
And we are recording, so when you're watching the replay, I want you to make sure that you are going to take some notes because this is going to be interactive. And then we'll put this in the Introverts chat on Messenger. And I think I need to add you to that, Victoria. I don't think you're on that, but I will add you to that. And then we can start a little conversation for the topic for today. So the topic is our labels can transform. And I don't know if that's exactly how I worded it, but our labels that we put on ourselves, they can be removed. You can rip them off. We don't have to wear them all the time. Yes, we can say, okay, the one label that we always carry is our name. And that is the most beautiful thing that we can carry.
Yeah.
But all the other labels that go along with it, they can be ripped off, changed, scratched out, transformed. So that's what I want to talk about today. And as I was planning for today, I wanted to make this a little more spiritual. So I looked up some of the verses that stuck out to me on how God sees us as his children and the labels that either he puts on us or that we put on ourselves and how we can be transformed in him. So the first one I want to go over is Revelations 21:4. And I will just read it. And I think I got these from the hang on one second. I forget I just recently switched my
the translation.
Thank you. I was like, what's the word I'm looking for? Translation. So NLT, which is New Living Translation. Revelation 21:4. He will wipe every tear from their eyes. There will be no more death or sorrow or crying or pain. All these things are gone forever. So we'll just have a little conversation on each one of them on what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear this verse.
I don't know, just sounds very nurturing, just kind of like wiping the tears, and it just sounds very caring. I don't know, I feel very held by it, it just feels very comforting.
Yeah, and for me, especially the last line, all these things are gone forever. Like when we feel the hurt or shame or whatever label we decide to put on that day or that week or that season, that when we choose to move on or to address whatever issue that we're having with that label at the time, there is obviously a process of addressing it and healing it and praying and dealing with it. But also, yes, there's a piece of it that might linger with us, but we don't have to hold on to that forever. And so, yes, the nurturing piece of, holding us, wiping away our tears and holding us in our pain, we can then move on and we don't have to dwell on that forever.
That's a good word.
Yeah. And the next verse I wrote down is 1 Corinthians 12:13. Again, in the New Living Translation. I didn't write down the whole verse. I just wrote down this one piece of it. We have all been baptized into one body by one Spirit, and we all share the same Spirit. I think I may have summarized that. But all in all, we are one. So when we decide to put on the Introverts label, it's not because we want to be seen as a shy or more reserved, introspective person, but we want to wear that as like, hey, this is how I want the world to perceive me. And if I see someone who as an extrovert or as a ambivert, and we all start interacting, like, how can we play off of each other? How can we interact in a better way? How can we understand each other better? Well, when we know ourselves better, we're rooted not only in Christ, but in ourselves and our worth. But then we can find that we are all one. We are just people. And something that just came to mind is the book Dare to Lead by Brene Brown. And she has an example in her book that says, because she's, she got famous through her TED Talk on vulnerability. And through one of her talks, I think it was probably like one of her first keynotes that she had to go up there, or it was one of her big talks. And she peeked out from behind the curtain and saw all these business people in suits. And she started freaking out. And she had to call her husband, and he kind of talked her down. And then she realized, yeah, it's just like, these are just people in the audience, just like you and me, just like any famous person. They are just people. So for this verse, for me, it just reminds me, like, we are all people. We are all one. And no matter how famous or how rich or how poor you are, we are all the same.
Yeah. So good.
Any words to speak into that?
No, I just think it's good to remember, especially like when I meet somebody that's really intimidating or, that I respect a lot. I'm very guilty of like adapting my personality or shifting myself or putting myself in a position of less than and not thinking of equals or, of the same spirit. So it's definitely a good reminder, because I get in that thought pattern a lot, and I'm trying to work through that more and more.
Yeah, we get starstruck.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially people with really charismatic personalities, or they're super intelligent, or just a lot of whatever you value, right? And I think it could be really easy to put them on a pedestal.
Yeah, and that also reminds me of not idolizing other people or things.
Yeah. Or successes, like things that accolades, right? And things that people have accomplished and that sort of thing.
Yeah. Yep. That's so good. And then the next verse, which is really funny, because when I originally wrote it down with my dyslexia, the minor dyslexia, I'm not going to put that label onto me, but I was re-looking it up and I wrote down John 23, but then I was like, that's not the verse that I wrote down. It's John 32. And you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. If you know who you are and you're rooted in God, and He will tell you who you truly are, which is God's beautiful child.
So good.
Yeah.
And
as I was saying that, being, having a different learning style than most with my, I don't know if it's a reading issue, a dyslexia issue, but because I was never really tested for those things, but I do swap words a lot. I swap numbers a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I've never really put that on me as a label.
Sure.
Because I don't want to be a dyslexic person. I want to be just a creative person that messes up sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes flips their numbers and words, and that's okay.
Yeah. And that's why when I checked the verse, I'm glad I did, because I would have given you the wrong verse, the wrong numbers.
That's funny.
Do you have any words to speak on John 38:32?
No, I just think it's so true. Like, first and foremost, like our identity in Christ, right? Like that is a label that I think is like important to keep front and center. If you are somebody that is pertinent and following Christ, that's something important in your life. But I think it's just basing everything from that truth, and then everything else is kind of not as significant as what we put on, and decide to, again, like you said, like those labels that we decide to put on, we can change them, and all those things. So it just kind of gives a different sense of gravity to what that means. Like it's like this thing is like, our identity in Christ, and then everything else is just kind of like not a big deal, just kind of drop it off.
Yeah. Yes, that is so true. So
Mhm.
those are the verses that I had, those three. If you're interested in, if you're watching the recording, or if you decide to watch this recording, Victoria, and you want to look up other translations and share what you find, sometimes it will speak to you in a different way.
Mhm.
At that time, please share what it means to you at that time.
Awesome.
So the next part is where we are going to have a piece of paper in front of us and a pen.
Okay.
And so we're going to write down some labels. You're going to draw a line down the middle of the paper. And on I'll say the left side, you can choose the right or left, whichever your creative heart feels. But on one side, put all of the labels that you can think of, whether they're good or bad. And, I'll give you like 2 minutes to write down the labels. I'll do this too. And then we'll go over and we'll kind of talk about those, and then we'll cross out the bad ones, or not necessarily the bad ones, but maybe the negative ones that we put on ourselves, and we'll create new ones for those. So I will set my little timer here. All right, that was 2 minutes.
Okay.
So share some of the labels.
So I'd say, I call myself like an ADHD, or like somebody with ADHD, or neurodivergent. Distractible, that kind of goes into the same quality, but an athlete is another label I put on myself. Chaotic sometimes, fiery, stubborn, impatient, joyful, and enthusiastic. So those are some of the ones that came up for me.
Okay, good. I put introvert, dyslexic. I also put like the other two that they don't resonate with me as much anymore because I've worked on them a lot, are being stupid and slow.
Mm.
So I'll definitely continue to work on those, because as I was writing, I was like, no, I don't want to write those down because I've worked through those, but clearly there's a little bit of that still there. So I was like, okay, I'm going to write those down in like smaller print, but we'll
Yeah.
still work on those.
Yeah.
I also put slow reader.
Me too.
And then I put snacker, um, speaker, massage therapist, sister, daughter, wife, auntie, friend, helper, giver, receiver, dancer, and you said athlete, but I'm not really an athlete, but I'm more into like fitness. So I don't know. Fit. I just put fit. I don't know.
Enthusiast. Yeah, or fit. That works too.
Oh yeah, fitness enthusiast. I'll write that. That's good.
Yeah, that works.
Okay, so any of the ones that make you feel a little heavy or sad or weak, we should take the time to like do a little, maybe say a little prayer and cross those out, and then ask what a new, more positive, encouraging label would be for us to move forward.
Oh.
You need more time?
Nope, I got them.
Okay. Which ones are you going to maybe pick, like 2 or 3?
Okay, so instead of impatient, I put expedient or efficient. Both those work for that. And then instead of stubborn, I put driven, which is like the light side of stubbornness.
Yeah, I
So
love
those are
that.
two fine.
Okay. So as I was saying about, not wanting to be slow or stupid or dyslexic, I put smart, clear thinker, creative, and for the dyslexic one, I just put, I'm a human, I make mistakes,
Mhm.
and that's okay.
Awesome.
And then for slow reader, I just put, I listen to books well. I'm in the car a lot, and I feel like I can still read or learn, but it's in a different way than someone that is an actual reader that likes to sit down and turn pages.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do after this is make it a little more organized, just because I have this. So what I've been doing lately, and this was sort of inspired by my Bible study leader, where she has little note cards and she'll ask for prayer requests, and she'll write down the prayer requests and she'll keep those with her and then pray on those. And then if there's, breakthrough that happens, or if something comes true, then she'll write on there and she'll just keep praying for that person, but in a different way. So I found this cute little sticky note pad, and it's in the other room, but it's pink and it's got little lines on it. And so I've been writing down little prayers on there for people. And what I could do for this, for myself, is write the line in the middle, the words that maybe I'm not resonating with anymore for my labels, and the way that I've transformed them, and really read those and pray on those and continue to move forward with the new label.
Mm. I like that. I like that. That's a good practice.
So it's a good way to rewrite it, but then also to make those labels be transformed in our lives
Yeah.
and really make those stick as
Sure.
well.
Yeah. Like instead of having one of those like name tags that you put on at functions that always start to peel off, maybe like a one that's like more like duct tape.
Yeah. Or one that's magnetic that actually
Yeah,
says your name and something really positive or encouraging.
I like that. I like that.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm going to encourage you and the people watching the recording as well to do this exercise. And you can either message in the group so that we can start a discussion, or if you're not 100% comfortable sharing with the group, you can send me a direct message,
Mhm.
whether it's through Messenger, email, text. If you're connected with me on Voxer, you can always do it that way too. And then I would love to help you to transform these labels and make a more positive spin on, what we're calling ourselves.
Yeah. Awesome.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yeah. So, I think that's all I have for you guys today. Is there anything else you want to add to the conversation, Victoria?
No, I think it's a really good thought exercise though, because I think again, I think it's really important to constantly check in with the labels that we've like unconsciously maybe assigned ourselves
Mhm.
because it depending on situations that come up or, for example, if I don't know, had a speaking engagement and didn't do so hot or felt extra nervous, like I might unconsciously take on a label that I'm not actively thinking about. So I think it's good to do this exercise like once a quarter and kind of check in and see if there are any like adjustments that need to be fine tuned. So I think it's just a good practice.
Mhm. Yeah, and actually before we jumped on the call, as I was preparing, and then what you just said, it's good to check in every quarter. It's similar to writing down our goals or our dreams or whatever, and then reading them, but also then changing them, updating them, checking off and celebrating the ones that we've reached.
Yeah.
So similar to that, we could do the same for our labels. And I love that you said, like, if you didn't do well on a speaking engagement or in a presentation or whatever it might be, subconsciously we take on that, like, oh, why did I do that? Or why didn't I practice more? And yeah, and you just sort of feel a little heavy.
Yeah.
So if we can acknowledge that and recognize it, cross it out, write it down, cross it out, and then write the more positive view on that. Like,
Mhm.
what can I learn from this?
Yeah.
Instead of how can I feel heavy all the time?
Yeah. Awesome.
Yes.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I love that.
for sure.
So it seems like one thing you're going to take away from this is adding this into your maybe quarterly practice. Is there
Little
anything
check-in
else?
process. Yeah, I think it's a good thing to do. I'll probably add it into because I have it in my calendar like a quarterly thing. So it'll probably just something I add into that process.
Yeah. And I think I already mentioned it too. I'm going to add it to my little prayer list, not only for others, but for myself.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
All right. Well, thank you again for being here, Victoria, because otherwise I'd just be talking to myself.
Which is never a bad thing either, right? Sometimes you gotta do that.
I
You gotta
know.
process it out loud.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you
Uh,
so much, Sabrina. This was a good call.
All right. Well, have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye bye.
Bye.